It looks like all signs are pointing to this, as the Lakers are gearing up for free agency, and an upgrade at the center position is heavily on everyone's mind, including Rob Pelinka. And it could take more than one player to adequately fill those needs at that position, and the more reasonable options are starting to surface for the Lakers. What's good? I'm Okechi Apakama, and this is Lakers Digest, coming at you with another video. And before we get into everything we have for today's video, I just want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, because we just passed 19,000 subscribers, guys, and we are pushing towards our goal of 20,000 subscribers, guys. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys who subscribe to the channel for really helping us out and helping us grow to this big number. And now we're going to keep giving you those Laker updates. Now, with that out of the way, let's hop straight into the topics we have for you today, as a Brook Lopez reunion. So, it is no secret that the Los Angeles Lakers are in the market for a center, and we've talked a bunch about different trade scenarios and different guys they've been looking at in the trade market. So, guys like Walker Kessler and DeAndre Ayton, Nick Claxton, just to name a few of those guys the Lakers have been looking for in the trade market. But the free agency is coming up here, and will go live on Monday at 3 p.m. So, the Lakers have been scoping the landscape and looking for ways to add to their team. And there's a couple of names in free agency that the Lakers have their eyes on and could be gearing up to pursue, according to Jake Fisher. So this is what Jake Fisher said in a podcast recently with Mark Stein, saying that there is growing belief that Brook Lopez will leave Milwaukee this summer, and the Lakers are gearing up to pursue him. This time around, however, numerous rival teams are bracing for the center-craved Los Angeles Lakers to make a run at luring Lopez away from the Bucks. Even though the Lakers plan to address their center void by pursuing Atlanta's Capela instead of, or perhaps a target not frequently discussed, there is growing belief that Lopez will indeed be on the move after a highly successful seven-season stint alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that is a pretty good thing to note there, as he did have a very good run pairing alongside with a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, but he is a bit older. But I'll talk about some of the prospects of a guy like Brook Lopez and what he can add to the Los Angeles Lakers team, because there's still some things he still can bring even at his advanced age. And yes, he is an older guy, so it might be a 1 or maybe even a 2-year deal, but there is some value that he can add maybe as a backup. And this is where I think where the Lakers are sort of bracing for in the free agency period, and hoping that they can sign a backup here, whether it's a Clint Capela or it's a Brook Lopez, and then hopefully trade for that starting center. But let's take a look about Brook Lopez here. And Brook Lopez for the season averaged about 13 points per game and about 5 rebounds per game. He did average 1.9 blocks per game, so he's still a pretty good shot blocker and interior threat. And then also he shot 50% from the field and 37% from three. So he is very well equipped to shoot threes. He shot an amazing 58% from corner threes. And this is a guy that takes threes at a high volume. So he is a guy that is more of a pick and pop big at this point of his career on the offensive end. And then defensively, he is definitely more a drop coverage. He's not a guy who's going to switch out onto different guards, but he's a guy that can hold down the interior of the paint and still rebound at a pretty good rate. Even though the numbers didn't show it too much, that was mostly due to the fact just the way that the Milwaukee Bucks play, and just where also a guy like Brook Lopez is positioned most times. So for the Los Angeles Lakers to pursue a guy like Brook Lopez, it does make sense if it is for the veteran minimum. So if it is for that price, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like a Brook Lopez to the squad because of what he can add offensively and his spacing and his shooting, and he's still viable enough to be a shot blocking big man down there in the post, albeit mostly through drop coverage and most of those schemes like that, and less so in switching. But that's why you still have other guys on the roster to help supplement some of the shortcomings that Brook Lopez is probably going to have at his age, 37-year-old. But also Brook Lopez, for most of his career though, he has been just pretty much a solid guy. He's probably not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he has been a very well-regarded starter for many seasons, and for the most part has been a relatively healthy individual, barring a couple of years that he had there early with the Brooklyn Nets. But just recently, the number of games that he played for the Milwaukee Bucks He played 80 games last season, 79 the year before, and 78 the year before that. So Brook Lopez being at around the same points per game, about 15, 12, 13 points per game, and then averaging just about the same amount of blocks and rebounds. So the consistency has been there, even though he has been in an advanced age, like I said, but he still has stuff to bring to the table, and that's why I don't mind bringing in a guy like Brook Lopez on a 1-year deal, especially if he is looked at to be the backup. And that's the big key here, because the Lakers can't be bringing in a guy like Brook Lopez to look to take over starter minutes and do different things, because the starting setup for the Los Angeles Lakers is going to need to do a lot of different things. They're going to need to be very mobile, very athletic, and just probably one of the better guys, not only on the backboards, but also cleaning up possessions and blocking shots and doing a whole myriad of things being the starting center, because that is going to be a tall task with the personnel the Lakers have on the court with Luka Doncic, Austin Reaves, and an older LeBron James. So the Lakers have some decisions to make, but there could be another name out there, as Clint Capela seemingly is more likely to possibly end up on the Los Angeles Lakers, and Jeff Fisher talked about it there a little bit, that Clint Capela could be the original target. Clint Capela is seen as mostly as the fallback target for the Lakers because of what happened with the Atlanta Hawks, mostly now that they're pushing the Onyeka Okongwu as the starter, and they also just traded for Kristaps Porzingis, so they have two centers now on their roster, two guys that you can easily platoon, as they've got different skill sets and they bring you different things. So it's very obvious that the Atlanta Hawks are probably going to move off of Clint Capela, and that's why it makes sense for the Los Angeles Lakers, who have the playing time to give a guy like Clint Capela, and possibly he'll take, maybe even have some spot starts here or there, as he isn't a guy who is super old, but he is a little bit older there for a guy like Clint Capela. So these are his stats here, as he just is going to turn 31 in his next season, and you can see his points really dip off there in this past season. Only played 55 games, only averaged 8.9 points per game and 8.8 rebounds per game, which is not what Clint Capela is used to, because he is used to being a double-double machine, especially when he was starting for the Houston Rockets way back when, and even some of those earlier years when he first got to Atlanta, he was still putting up double-double numbers. But mostly at this point, it seems like Clint Capela is more of a high-level backup, and if the Lakers are able to bring him in on a relatively friendly contract, whether it's the mid-level exception or the veteran minimum, which is an even better deal for the Los Angeles Lakers, then you're, I think, cooking with fire, because if you can have Clint Capela as your backup and then hopefully trade for that starting big man, whether it's Kessler, whether it's Claxton, whether it's Ayton, one of these guys that you can possibly put in there as your starter, and then having Clint Capela as your backup, now you have a more viable center rotation that you can throw out in different scenarios. So say if there is that bruising, bigger type of five, then you have a Clint Capela or Brook Lopez ready to go down there to really body some of those bigger dudes and really bother them, because those are still guys who can still block shots, still guys who can still rebound and do those necessary things that the Lakers have just been poor at these past couple of seasons. The Lakers have been a porous rebounding team. If it wasn't for Anthony Davis being on the Los Angeles Lakers the past couple of seasons, the Lakers would probably have been one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. So it is very important, I think, for the Lakers to find a good rebounder. Clint Capela is a good rebounder. Brook Lopez has the history of being a good rebounder. Obviously, the numbers weren't there last season, but possibly put in better positions, probably with the Los Angeles Lakers, then you can probably show that rebounding more. But maybe I'm wrong, but there's still, I think, going to be less than 48 hours before free agency hits, so we're probably going to get some answers very soon here, guys. But let us know in the comments down below of what you guys think about Brook Lopez. What do you think he can add to this team? Or do you think he's too old and the Lakers should not be looking at him? And then Clint Capela, what do you guys think about him as well? Do you think he's a viable player that the Lakers can add to this Laker roster? Let us know in the comments down below. And just one more thing for us, guys, there is still 67% of you guys who have recently watched our videos who are not yet subscribed to the channel just yet. And if you guys want more of that Laker news, Laker updates, trade rumors, game recaps, just every and all things LA Lakers, you guys want to come right here to Lakers Digest so you don't miss any of that action. All right, I have been your host, Okechi Apakama, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.